Welcome back to the JDM Legends presented by Turn 14 Distribution. Today we take a deep dive on the R34 GTR. Before we get into the GTR, first off, I want to thank all of you and our sponsor Turn 14, because without you guys and Turn 14, I would not have my dream car, which is this R34 GTR. So thank you guys so much, and so many of you could continue to contribute to Patreon, which is a huge help to us. All of those factors, you watching our videos, commenting, liking, subscribing, all those things do add up to revenue for us, which means we can go out and buy our dream cars like this R34 GTR. Now, this story goes back a little bit further, 8 years ago actually, and my buddy was a JDM importer, and I saw these wheels come up on Yahoo Japan, and I thought, you know what, one day I am going to own an R34 GTR, so I'm going to buy these, and lo and behold, 8 years later, here we are. So I just wanted to show you guys these wheels. This is gonna be a bit of a spoiler as to what's going on the GTR, but I think it's very fitting and it tells the story well. These are Evo Rega Masters in an 18 by 10.5 plus 15, which is GTR fitment. And as I said, back in the day, when I saw them come up, I just knew I wanted to have them. I think they're a super clean wheel. I think they're gonna complement the GTR very, very well and give it that 90s flair or 2000s flair that I think so many of these vehicles look so good on. Now, I've been debating back and forth as to what color to run. These do need to be refinished. They're a little chipped here and there, but I do like black. However, I find every silver GTR runs black wheels. So I'm kind of debating, should I do them in a silver? Should I maybe do them in white? Maybe gold? I don't know. If you guys have comments, what you think I should do these in, certainly post in the comments.
I like gold, PT, gold.
I don't think I'm going gold. No, I don't think I'm going gold. So to recap, this is a 1999 GTR V-Spec model in Sonic Silver. It's got 107,000 kilometers on it, so just over 60,000 miles. And it looks mint, it is all stock. Let's get into the story of how we purchased this car for 65,000 Canadian dollars, which is just around 50,000 US dollars. As you guys know, we use Craig from Bonsai Rides for the majority of our JDM imports, and I tasked Craig almost 2 years ago with purchasing us a Skyline GTR, and that search took long. I think it was over 8 months, but finally Craig found us a car, and this was it. And it came up on like a Tuesday night when most of these cars were going in the 75 to like 95 range. And when this car came up, Craig sent me a ton of photos. It was like, listen, this one looks really good. It is all stock. I think it's, you know, the right car to bid on. However, he was like, I don't think it's gonna go for under 75K. But I said, listen, my cap is at 65. Let's see what we can do. And the next morning was a very, very good morning, because I got that text message that I always wanted, and that was, we have purchased you a GTR. So it was super, super exciting. And once again, I want to thank Craig over at Bonsai Rides. If you guys are looking for any type of JDM import, whether you're in the US or Canada, he does both. I've spent some time looking at the exterior of this car, trying to find some flaws on it, and truthfully, I'm just kind of blown away by how good it looks. Like, there are no stone chips up front, and there are no dents in the doors, nothing like that. I guess my only complaint is the paint is a little dull. It could certainly use a shine, which we will do, and we'll see how it comes back to life. But you know, from a repaint perspective, I can't really find anything that would jump out at me as being repainted. It's a little suspect to think that there's no stone chips on the front of this vehicle. But you know what? After looking in the interior, it is also as mint, and there is even in the door sill here, you guys just saw, look at this, like the original plastic blue tape from the dealer.
Peel it, PT, peel it.
I can't do it. I
can't do it?
I can't.
Oh, man.
I can't. I don't think I can peel it.
This is why I can't own this car, PT, because I would have peeled that off.
I know. And that's somewhat of the downside to owning this car is it's like, it's all stock, and what are we gonna do to it? Devalue it by modifying it. So that has been a tricky thing to kind of get my mind around, because I do love the fact that this is all stock and you can enjoy it this way, but I also, like, GTR stock are kind of mediocre, as you guys will find out as we go for a drive. Like, the real beauty of these, and like Supers, for example, is modifying them, making them into vehicles that are tuned and really run and perform so much better like supercars do. So, getting back to the paint, the back here, again, also I can't really find anything that looks like tape marks or overspray, anything like that. These are known to have a different, the rear taillights are known to have a bit of a different shade than the body color because they are plastic. I've seen that. Comments here and there about that. The Supra doesn't have this sophisticated of a wing, of course. It's just got this weird looking arch. The Skyline, look at this, DP, adjustable.
Yeah.
For downforce.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
I got wing envy, it's true.
And you know what? It carries on into the trunk. First of all, look at this plastic. This was one of the things I noticed. These plastic trim covers. This is like flagship GTR Nissan they were going for back in the day. And that theme continues back into here, which is, looks like a huge mess of stuff, but very, very neat to see. First of all, look at this brace that is adjustable from the factory, people. This is, I think, the Atessa all-wheel drive system. And the downside is to get at the fuel pump is an absolute nightmare. I watched Adam LZ's video. They did some serious work to equip their GTR with a proper fuel system, and all of this stuff has to come out, so I'm not really looking forward to that. I've never been a huge fan of these R34 GTR wheels, but they have grown on me. The more I see them in person on the vehicle, the more fitting I think they are. I do love this idea of like a center cap like this, which is super cool. The brakes on this car are also pretty adequate. They're a 4-piston Brembo up front and a 2-piston Brembo in the rear. I thought long and hard about making an upgrade on the braking system, but you know what? I think we're not going to be testing this thing at like big horsepower tracks, so I think the brakes should be okay for what we're going to use it on. Proud moment here. Holding GTR keys feels so surreal, and yet check these things out. Like, these are super quality. The definition of like premium Japanese flagship car back from the 2000s, and the theme continues throughout the interior. These seats, I mean, they fetch a fortune these days, but they are just, they're perfect. Like, they've got great bolstering down in this area, up here. They're just so nice, and they are mint. I do not think this car was smoked in, thank goodness, because there's no burns or stains of any sort. Steering wheel is mint, and just like most people always want that like black with red stitching, Nissan did that for the GTR, so there's red stitching along the steering wheel, there's red stitching on the e-brake handle here, and in the rear center console here. So the one downside I see is the shifter here is the shift knob has seen better days, so it's certainly going to need a refresh. I probably will do something else. Post in the comments, what do you guys think? Should I do like a Nismo knob, or should I find an OE one, or what? And everything else is stock. So the CD player, there's a tape deck, believe it or not, in here, which is kind of cool. I'm not touching that stuff. I think all this stuff has to stay as is.
Really?
I do. It's just, it's all so cool and neat to me. And like the buttons and everything just looks so premium. Like, I certainly love it for that. Let me show you a couple other cool things. The pedals all have these R logos on them, and this one, of course, because this is a true car that's race bred, has that little tip down on the gas pedal for, you guessed it, heel toe action. I love it. The more I look at this car, the more cool things I find on it. And one of the coolest features on these vehicles was, of course, these, what do they call this? I don't want to call it an infotainment unit. I think it's like a display thing. And, oh, did you guys hear that? Here, let me turn it on again. I think that's what it is. You Japanese guys will be able to post in the comments and let me know what this whole system is about. But there is like this thing here, which again, I think is like some type of pass. Anyways, getting back to this. This to me is like, was the coolest thing back in the 2000s. This gives you like a whole bunch of information about the car. The rear seats all look super mint. And of course, I think I am gonna peel this, Dave.
Yes.
I think I am.
Yes.
Let's just do it right now. Let's just get the pain over with. People may be upset, but you know what? It's time. This GTR is gonna see some love. Dude, this literally has been on here. Like, look at, this thing is so mint. There's like not a scratch here.
It's like you bought a new car. It's insane.
Wow. I think under the hood is somewhat the least appealing part of this vehicle. It hasn't had the care and attention in terms of like being clean. I think the previous owner obviously loved maintaining this vehicle, but when it came to the mechanical side of it, he probably just let a shop do it, which means, you know, nobody really cleans this stuff up, and you can tell like the valve cover's a little beat up here and there. There's a slight little bit of oxidization, but it is all stock until it comes to the rad cap here. You can see it is a pit work HD, whatever that means. It looks like it's a 88 kilopascal one, so it might be a higher pressure one. There is like a bit of corrosion down here starting. It does have a calsonic metal rad. Again, I'm no GTR expert, so I assume this looks OE, that they did come with aluminum rads. There's a weird thing going on here on the hoses where there's a bit of like silicone. Somebody, when they were putting the hoses back together, like the mechanic or maybe the previous owner, decided to put some silicone to you know, he was worried they were gonna leak or something, and it's done on the top one and the bottom one as well, which is a little puzzling. I don't know what that's about. I can also see that somebody broke the clips here, and these are like notorious for failing, especially on these cars because there's so much heat cycling going on and the plastics just become brittle. So there's some zip tie action here. But otherwise, there's not really a speck of rust or anything like that. Like, this is pure OEM GTR. You guys might be wondering what the plan is with the engine. I'll save that for another episode, but I will tell you I'm going with twins. So I'm not doing a single turbo upgrade. I find with the displacement of these engines, the 2.6 liter, it just doesn't make sense to go to a large single for what we want to do. I kind of want to keep it very OEM, so I am going twins. And there's a bunch of other mods coming, like an intercooler. However, this one already does have a factory front mount intercooler. Like, this stuff is just so awesome to me to see these things usually that you go and you spend so much time upgrading and they're already here on this car. Oh, I forgot to note, it looks like the timing belt was done at 85,000 kilometers. Obviously, I'm gonna end up doing it, but that's a good thing to see this sticker and it not showing like 30 or 40,000 kilometers, so it has been serviced recently. Behold, the aero wonder that is underneath the GTR. I think this was probably pretty groundbreaking stuff for its time. Like, we're talking about a full diffuser plate all the way back. Like, we can't even look at the engine or leaks or anything like that right now because this is all covered up. They also have these really neat brake ducts that pull air and you know, onto the rotor. The exhaust itself, I'm kind of blown away. It looks in remarkable condition. You can see, I don't know if this has been painted or not. Like, there's a little bit of rust showing through some areas, but this, actually I can see here, it certainly does look like some of this has been painted to make it look newer than it probably is, but it's still in remarkably good condition. We do have ourselves a Nismo slave cylinder, which I'm sure these days fetches like what? $5 grand?
Exactly.
$5 grand, because
minimum.
it says Nismo on it. It's gotta be worth a ton of money. So really the outstanding thing underneath here is this undercoating here, which is kind of peculiar because this is your bare chassis, and then there's just like this undercoating that's been put in like really weird strategic areas. There's like a block here, there's a block here. It's just down the sides here, and it's sprayed like into this area here in a weird way. And I can see there's a little bit of rust showing through on this side here and here and here, and you can see a little bit of this undercoating is coming off. Now, the question I have for you guys is this factory? Is this like a dealer option, or is this something that was sprayed underneath the vehicle, you know, as an afterthought, like at a mechanic shop or something? Because we're kind of puzzled as to what's going on with that. The rear diff area here has, I don't know if you guys can see that, lots of cobwebs. This thing's been sitting around the shop, sadly, for a little bit too long. A lot of wear and tear on this piece. You can imagine a lot of rocks and debris are headed and just like slowly chipping away at this. But again, no major rust, nothing like that, which is super cool. And really the coolest thing about the rear end is this huge diffuser in the back here. If this is stock, believe it or not, guys, like for its time, again, such a super, super cool piece. I don't know what it's made out of. I feel like it's FRP or like some weird carbon mixture, because I can see there's a little bit of like peeling going on here, but it certainly does not feel metal. So looking up in here, the diff looks pretty clean. Everything else looks like it's in good shape. This car has a Tessa, which is 4-wheel drive, so it does have a little bit of like rear steer, which is cool, but a little problematic at times. Some guys delete it. I'm gonna be leaving all that stuff because I do want to keep this thing as original as possible. And the muffler itself also looks to be in good shape, which is nice because I plan to keep all of the OEM stuff off this car. So that is a tour of the mighty GTR. It is now time we take it for a drive.
I want everyone to know watching this video that we're making this in 40 degrees Celsius heat with no AC on, so that you've got the best audio possible. So we're suffering for our art, and we're suffering for you guys. So you're welcome, the internet. Feel a little weird over there, buddy? Right-hand drive?
I'm starting to get used to it. We own enough right-hand drive cars now that I'm becoming more familiar with it. But yeah, it always does feel a little weird. But man, this is a dream come true. If you guys don't believe this, this is the first time we have driven this car since purchasing it.
Yeah, I've never even heard it run before.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy. We sat on this car for like a year and a half.
Yes, yes. We've been very, very patient for the love of the game to bring you guys an honest first drive experience.
Yeah, this is the real deal.
And this is the real deal. This is the first drive.
I gotta say, I'm already surprised how firm it rides on the stock suspension.
Yes.
Like, this is much more of a sports car than I thought. I thought it'd be more like a GT car the way the Supra is. This feels very sporty already.
Especially over these bumpy roads, but it's tight.
It is.
Like, you can feel this car's not loose. This feels like a new car, man.
Does.
This feels like a new car.
It is spotless in here. There's not a single scratch on any plastic. The cloth looks brand new. Like, honestly, you could walk into a dealership and find more flaws on a car than we could find on this thing.
I know.
It's mind-blowing.
Brilliant. Here we go. What does that look like, DP?
That, my friends, is a never been used lighter, which for a Japanese car is very unusual.
And the ashtray's super clean too.
Yep.
Oh, that's great.
I think you bought yourself a unicorn here, buddy.
Oh, this feels good. In stock trim, like, I love the gauge cluster. The fact that 1,000, 2,000 RPM are just like super small. They're like, don't even bother to be in this range with this vehicle. You want to be able to rev this thing out to 8K RPM.
And the tach goes to 10. Like, that's unusual too to see.
I know. Oh, it's so nice.
Now, we should say the gas in this is how old?
Oh, dude, I don't even want to know.
It's got to be at least 2 years old.
Listen, when Craig imported this, he did drive it, so I suspect he might have put, I assume he put gas into it, because this has got a half a tank of gas, so it probably does have Sunoco 94, which is like the best gas that we can get here.
Yeah.
So I think we'll be all right. I'm just more worried about temperatures today. Like Dave said, is a scorcher, the hottest day of the year, I think, yet. Yeah. And we are driving the GTR.
Yeah. But it is stock. So really, you know, we're not going to the racetrack. So it'll be fun. Yeah. We're not going to see like peak 0 to 60 numbers, but that's not our intention.
No, but dude, like the seats.
The seats are incredible.
Just the
best OE seats I think I've maybe ever sat in. These are amazing seats.
It just feels incredible. It really does.
Oh man, it soaks up these harsh bumps remarkably well too. I gotta say, and it doesn't feel like a big car. Like, visually, it looks big. It's got like long overhangs. It's got the big muscular fenders and everything, but inside it feels like a 90s car. It feels compact with a low dash, and you've got excellent sight lines with the glass everywhere. Like, this is an awesome car, dude. I'm stoked. Yeah,
and I think part of that comes from the fact that the 32 is such a smaller vehicle comparatively. So people, when they look at this car, they think, oh, this is a much bigger beast.
Yeah.
But in the grand scheme of things, it's still a pretty small car.
Ooh. Yeah, you can feel the all-wheel drive. Wow, it's got good traction.
And it's got like that immediate surge of power, and I can feel it trailing off right away. Like, I wasn't even revving that to 8K.
Yeah.
And it certainly has like that nice hit of power, but lacks the top end, which is okay.
That's why you go to bigger turbos or better turbos.
Man, the gearbox is
nice.
Beautiful. Oh, man, it feels so nice.
In general, though, a lot of times when you buy a stock car from Japan, in its previous life, it was maybe modified and then put back to stock to sell it. And I don't think this car was ever modified, just based on like the condition of all the nuts and bolts and stuff.
Very true.
Doesn't look like the suspension's been off it. The rotors look original.
Yeah,
they're pretty badly worn out.
They're worn down.
Give me a hit, PT.
Okay, are you ready? All right, let's just give everybody. So we are at, let's just get up to 3,000 per RPM, and I'm gonna get into it. Wow, that felt like ages to come on, but dude, it moves, man.
It does move.
Wow.
Yeah. It's not like, you know, 2021 fast.
No.
But in 2000 or 99 when this car was built, this would have been properly
too.
fast.
Wow. It feels nice.
Low NVH.
Yes.
Like it's not loud in here. There isn't a lot of like road noise.
Yeah.
It feels like a premium car.
Wow. Yeah. Let me downshift again and give you guys another pull here. See, once I floor it, does take a little bit of time to come up.
It's got good mid-range.
Oh, wow, dude, it's awesome.
Yeah.
And this is like a stock comes as slow as it is. It's making, it looks like 0.9 bar of boost, so probably around like 11, 12 PSI, maybe a little bit more, 13. But peak 0.94, so yeah. I'm gonna count down when I floor it until you hit the power hit, which is kind of crazy. 4,000 RPM, floored. Come on, there it goes. Yeah. Like it takes some time, but man, once it goes, it moves. It's good. Honestly, like it's not, again, by modern standards, super fast, but this thing gets up and goes. Like on a racetrack, I think you'd have a grand old time.
You would, for sure.
Ripping around in this thing.
I do like the idea of you staying with the twins and me putting a big single turbo on the 2J, because then we'll have some interesting contrasts. You know, they're obviously they're different motors, but they're both inline sixes. They're both turbocharged, and they're kind of considered like the great, classic era Japanese performance.
Yeah,
engine.
this is going to be like a full RB versus 2J.
Exactly. Yeah.
Big heavyweight fight.
Yeah. All-wheel drive versus rear-wheel drive.
Yeah. So many contrasting points of these two cars.
They're really very different, and yet I think curb weight wise, they're really very comparable. I think they were both built as like big GT cars more than like light nimble sports cars. It'll be a lot of fun to make some power pulls with them and see who the winner is. It's like, I mean, neither of us can lose in this competition.
No,
this is
both winning. We are both winning tremendously here.
But I'll be really curious to see like if there's much straight line speed differential, and if the driving experiences are just totally different. All-wheel drive definitely makes this car feel a lot different than the Supra is going to feel. Yeah,
and I think on that note, we're going to wrap this because there is sweat pouring off of my hand, and this poor car is probably telling us to turn me off, I'm starting to get hot, please get rid of this warm air so I can breathe again. It's so hot, but so well worth it. Words can't really describe how happy I feel to drive this car finally, and to be able to drive an R34 GTR. They are as special as people say they are, and this is like all stock form, which is an experience to be had, because now we're gonna be able to modify this thing and then drive it again and kind of compare. And yeah, it's been surreal, guys. I'm like just kind of lost for words, as I always am in these types of situations. It's just so great and so awesome to be able to drive a legend like this. So that is gonna be a wrap on this one. There is some seriously exciting stuff coming down with both the Supra and the GTR. One thing we wanted to point out to you guys, we just had these made by Design Shop React, JDM Legend Speed Academy GTR. So these are very, very limited quantity. If you're looking for one, go to the merch store and pick one up as soon as you can. So thank you once again for watching. If you guys like this video just a little bit, think about giving me a thumbs up and subscribing, because there is a ton amazing content coming up. Dave just pointed out this sticker that says anti-UV stat FGJ car body coating. Wondering if any of you guys know what that means. We're maybe assuming it's some type of like coating for the paint, which is why it's so excellent.